distinguished guests, permit me to also say fellow change makers, because you're all in this room, from what I've read about most of you, are great change makers. I'm honored to be in your midst today. Visionary legacy builders. It is a profound honor to stand before you, sharing not only my journey, but the mission that has come to define my life. I must thank my good friend and dear wife, Lynette and Bob, for making this possible, inviting me to this great event to share my experience. I've enjoyed the hospitality of this great city, the hotel, the warmth and friendship of most of you that I've had cause to interact with since yesterday. And my colleagues asked me this morning, why am I not in my usual suit? I said, I need to enjoy this wonderful environment and weather. When we go back, we'll start wearing suits again. I flew in from New York to DC, and DC, I've had enough suits on me. Let me also congratulate Legacy Builders and Goku for this event and creating, again, this platform. As a firm believer in the power of collaboration, I know that gatherings like this bring together like-minded individuals who are committing their resources in advancing the cause of humanity. I'm happy to have reconnected with my friends, Mrs. Steers. I've met great people like Peter. I've met Greg. Is Greg in the room? I met Greg yesterday, and quite a number of you that I've had cause to interact with since the past 24 hours I've been here. So why am I here? Why did I accept the invitation by the Gay family? Let me start by telling you a bit about myself. My name, as you know, is Tony Elumelu. I'm an African, and I'm a businessman. I invest in Africa, in Europe, and in America. I'm proud to say that one of our investments, United Bank for Africa, is the only regulated deposit-taking bank from Africa in all of the United States of America. We turn around businesses. But I'm also a philanthropist. To me, that's the biggest CV that I have. I'm a philanthropist, and I came from almost nowhere. But I've tried to achieve a bit. Let me begin with Africa. When you mention Africa, you get many responses and sentiments. Some see Africa in terms of beauty, or size, big continent, or mineral wealth, or nature. But also, people talk about poverty, strife, conflict. In some instances, some level of intolerance. Some of what you hear is true, some not. I want to begin by talking about Africans, specifically the Africans who are very close to my heart, young Africans, some of the most industrious, entrepreneurial people in the world. Africa's population is currently 1.5 billion. It will double in 25 years' time. The median age in Africa is 19. In Latin America is 31. In Asia and the US is 38. I'm just saying this for you to understand the picture. Africa is home to 24 of the world's 25 fastest growing populations. My original country, Nigeria, will, according to the economists, overtake the US as the world's third most populous country by 2050. Young people are important to me. Young people are very close to my heart. And Africa has more, many more, than elsewhere in the world. I know these entrepreneurs because I interact with them, I groom them, I live with them. These young Africans are ready to transform Africa and play their own part in transforming the world. I founded the Tony Elumelu Foundation, and for the past 15 years, I have dedicated my life to a mission close to my heart, empowering African entrepreneurs, our young ones, creating economic opportunity and future for them. I have spent over $100 million on these young Africans. But why have I done so? Because of that belief that entrepreneurs hold the key to unlocking Africa's untapped potential. They are the innovators, the dreamers, and the builders who can transform not only their own lives, but their entire economies. I'd like to share some background. I started my career as a banker. I was lucky, Democratizing luck. I was lucky, Lina asked me yesterday to talk about luck. And I did it. I want to talk about it today. I started out my career as a banker. I was lucky to get a job I applied for. I was not qualified for the job, but it was just sheer luck that I got the opportunity. I had no silver spoon, no international education. Only much later in life, I went to Harvard. I worked hard, and when I saw an opportunity to do more, I took it. I led a group of investors to turn around a struggling bank and make it profitable. That opportunity led to what is the largest bank merger in sub-Saharan Africa to date. Our banking group now is in 20 countries in Africa. It is on 4 continents. We are the only African bank, I said before, regulated to operate in the US as a deposit-taking bank. We bank over 45 million customers across the UBA group universe. Because Africa is a continent of opportunity, I diversified. My group, the Heirs Holdings Group, is one of the largest oil producers in Nigeria today. We produce over 50,000 barrels of oil every day. We are one of the largest power producers in Nigeria, and we supply power to some African countries. We have installed capacity of 2,000 megawatts of electricity. We have acquired one of the top 3 electricity distribution companies in Nigeria so that we integrate vertically. We also invest in and manage real estate, healthcare, and technology. We are doing well as a group financially, economically, but also we try to do good simultaneously, not one waiting for the other. Nigeria has huge resources and effectively, or unfortunately, no power. We're changing that. Power is access to electricity. We're changing that. It means not just businesses, but schools and hospitals are beginning to function through some of our interventions. If you come to our federal capital in Nigeria, you would likely stay in Transcorp Hilton Hotel, our flagship hotel. Again, we have invested over $130 million, making it a world-class destination for leaders, for business, for families, but also as a gateway to investment in Africa. So you can say I have done well as a person. But my journey has been shaped by a combination of luck, as well as opportunity, grit, and resilience. I am where I am today because I was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. I was prepared to see the moment when luck presented itself. However, I believe luck and opportunity should not be reserved for a select few. We cannot claim to be rich when there is pervasive poverty that is evident all around us. This belief has always been guided by a question that fuels my purpose. How do I extend the same opportunity I had to young Africans who have not been as fortunate. How can I democratize luck? This question inspired my wife and I to invest in the next generation of African entrepreneurs. So this is the why. In 2015, we committed that $100 million to identify, train, and fund the businesses of African entrepreneurs over 10 years. As business people, we thought it was important we measured our impact. And so we put a time frame to it. Today, we have granted 2.5 million Africans with access to training on our digital platform called the TF Connect. It's an online portal, and we have lifted over 2 million individuals out of poverty through the intervention of the Tony Elumelu Foundation on the continent. We operate not just in one country, we operate in all 54 African countries, because to us, poverty anywhere on the continent is a threat to all of us everywhere on the continent. We also have disbursed more than $100 million in direct funding to over 21,000 beneficiaries who have created 1.5 million jobs and generated $4.2 billion in revenue across the continent. We also learned, we have, and we keep learning. We learned that we can't do it just by ourselves. We need to collaborate. Our program receives over 300,000 applicants every year, and a program that's set out to democratize luck and give economic opportunity to people inadvertently is actually dashing hopes. You can't have a situation where 300,000, 400,000 apply for this opportunity and you select just 1,000. So we now work with the European Union, the United Nations, UNDP, the Red Cross, and with family offices and foundations. We launched a program with the Care Foundation. They use our execution ability, foot on the ground experience, and we try to amplify and continue to amplify the good. Our youth on the continent inspire me. They are creating jobs and eliminating poverty and helping to lift their communities out of poverty. Their impact is being felt in their communities and across the continent as they come up with solutions that is transforming all of Africa. My greatest fulfillment comes from the legacy we are building, the lives we are transforming, and the profound impact of what the Tony Elumelu Foundation now represents. However, there's still more to be done. Every young African with a dream should have a fair shot at realizing it. I say to my friends, if Steve Jobs were an African, would he have been able to transform the world the way he did in his lifetime? I often think back to my childhood. I watched my mother, a hardworking entrepreneur, build a small business with shared determination. She ran a restaurant. I mean, when I talk restaurant, I'm not talking McDonald's, I talk petty restaurant. And I helped her out, learning the fundamentals of business by being involved, not from a classroom, but from her unwavering resilience and resourcefulness and high determination to make sure that her children got a better future than she did. I saw firsthand how access to capital and mentorship could mean the difference between a thriving business and one that never gets off the ground. That lesson never left me. Continues to influence, inspire, and motivate me in everything I do today. Democratizing luck is not just about finance. It's about knowledge sharing. It's about mentorship. It's about building networks that support and uplift, and that's why I like this opportunity to meet all of you. We must create a continent where young entrepreneurs are not paralyzed by systemic barriers, but propelled forward by opportunity. we will bring back hope to young Africans. To those who have achieved success, I say this: we must do more. The world expects a lot more from us, and justifiably too. I encourage people to become mentors, an investor in the future of the world, self-enlightened interest, I call it. For every life we lift out of poverty, we're actually helping our own life. I encourage people to become champions for those who only and truly need a chance. Africa will not rise by chance. It will rise because of deliberate action, because of people who refuse to accept the status quo and choose instead to create the future that we deserve. That is why I'm democratizing luck. I am not interested in looking backwards. I don't look at historic causes of our problems. I want to focus on current solutions. I invite each and every one of you to please explore how you can be part of our mission to drive meaningful and sustainable impact. Together, we can transform the African continent, one entrepreneur at a time. So join us as we democratize luck, and we will create a future where every African can dream and achieve, where we can create the next Steve Jobs. I look forward to engaging with you, and I'm joined here by the CEO of the Tony Elumelu Foundation, Somachi Chris Asaluka. Please stand up. I say that the easiest thing is to write a check. The more difficult thing is to get the check to deliver its purpose. And that's what Somachi and her team do every day. So well done. Thank you on behalf of African youth. And I also have with me a fellow trustee, in fact, founding trustee, Alex Trotter. Is he here? Alex Trotter. Alex in his business hat is a private equity person, but he commits a lot, substantial part of his time in helping to make this dream come true. Right from the first day we conceptualized the whole idea of empowering young African entrepreneurs. Thank you, Alex, for your commitment to Africa, and thank you for supporting the African youth. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm done, but I'll be available for Q&A, and I look forward, more importantly, let what we do today be the beginning of a new future, and let us collectively help to democratize luck and give hope and economic opportunity to others. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to have, they don't know that I'm going to ask them. Leanna, can you grab a roaming mic? And then Andrew, can you grab a roaming mic wherever you are? And so, Tony, yes. I personally am a huge fan. The level of impact that you've been able to have with the Tony Elumelu Foundation is astounding. And everybody who has talked with me ahead of this conference and has had a chance to hear me fangirl about the incredible work that you do, because you don't just take $100 million and have that level of impact in small business creation and resulting in a $4.2 billion revenue being generated out of it with all these companies. Something that came to my mind, and I would love to get your thoughts on it. You've done all of this with granting less than 25,000 grants at this point. What would it look like if you had the resources and were able to do it for 1 million people?
Oh my God. In Born Again Church, they say, I claim that. I claim it in Jesus' name. Honestly, You don't even start democratizing luck on a continent that has 1.5 billion people and a median age of 19 with 25,000 or 22,000 people. That's a tiny, in fact, less than a tiny drop of water in an ocean. And that tells you what we can do if we had the resources and, to support more. What I say to my business associate friends, etc., is what we do at the Tony Elumelu Foundation is not out of the abundance of wealth. It's not so easy, but it is an existential effort we need to make. It is in our own self-enlightened interest. We must realize that what counts ultimately is not the money we have in our bank accounts, but the impact that we create. And so if you look around, you can't say we're rich if people around us are suffering in poverty. So we can do a lot more, but we also realize that we have limited resources. Hence, we decided at some point to open it up, and now we have partnership with the European Union. They're doing great things, supporting thousands of young men and women on the continent. We have the UNDP. We have a very ambitious program, UNDP, supporting young Africans on the continent, but the Sahel region in particular, because Sahel region is the troubled part of Africa. And we have with the International Red Cross, with the German government. In fact, even the US government supported some at some point. So what we are proud of is that we have built an engine, boots on the ground. We understand how to eradicate poverty on the continent. It's time-tested. We're trying to make people self-reliant. So our intervention mechanism is different. It's not the usual just give, aid. Aid is good. But we just need in 21st century to start thinking of how to empower people to feed themselves, ultimately, send their children to school, provide health care to their children, etc., and not perpetually being dependent on the giving. So it's a new kind of approach, and we can do a lot more if we had the resources. And so we preach partnership. We preach partnership opportunity. We say to people, and the truth is many people in the world want to help, but at times they don't know, they don't have a credible platform, they don't know how to go about it. I say even to my colleagues, before now, I could buy a suit for $10,000, etc. But since we started what we do at the Tony Elumelu Foundation, seeing the joy, the happiness, and the upliftment of souls and lives and communities from just $5,000. Before I spent $5,000, I said to myself, this can touch some lives. So it's changing there's a personal paradigm shift in my brain and how things are done. So we can do a lot more if we have more resources.
That would be amazing. One last comment, and then people get ready to raise their hands because I'll call you after that. But one thing that I admire about all of this, Tony, because I've read up on your story a lot prior to getting to know you better, but it wasn't just one day that you're like, I want to do this. It was a progression over time where I think it was back in 2012 when you posted in the New York Times, Time Magazine, and a myriad of other publications, and coined the term Afrocapitalism, which is the reinvestment of Africa from Africans going in. And I love the approach of aid is good, aid is wonderful, but let's teach people to fish. Let's give them the opportunity to go and lift and build. And that's something we heard with Becky's group this morning as well, which people want the chance to do it themselves. You can give them a handout, yes, but with the handout, what you're taking in the other hand is their dignity and their ability to get better. And I love everything about what you're doing. Okay, hands up. Tao.
Hi, Tony. Really great discussion here. I'm Tao with the Gates Foundation. I'm very interested and really appreciate that you're seeing the world in the view of like investing in 1,000 flowers blooming with these entrepreneurs and being able to create businesses and jobs, etc. But I also think about the fertile soil and the environment in which these entrepreneurs can be successful. I'm curious if you have advice or insights into what are those systemic things that you see are needed in order to ensure that fertile soil and the enablement of success of these entrepreneurs in Africa? Thanks.
No, thanks. That's so important. You know, we realize that capital alone is not enough. Mentorship is important. You know, business education is important. Again, one of the reasons I like what the Gay family are doing in Ghana. But equally important, if not even more important, is the enabling environment. The enabling environment must be supportive of this initiative. Otherwise, these small, medium-scale enterprise, these little people we're trying to help to break this cycle of poverty, vicious cycle of poverty, will go back. And so, he spoke about Afro-capitalism. When we invest in the Heirs Holdings Group, it's not just to make money, but it's our own contribution as African private sector in creating, helping to build the infrastructure that helps to create the right environment. Our investment in the electricity is actually born out of that to develop the continent, the single most critical resource is improvement in access to electricity. Access to electricity on the continent, more than 60% of our people do not have access to electricity. How do you develop a continent like that in the 21st century? So, but let me not get carried away. Back to the point, the right environment must be there for entrepreneurs to succeed. So what do we do in that area, beyond our own investment in that area, we also engage governments, advocacy. We talk to government. We say to government, please create the right environment. Provide basic infrastructure, rule of law, security, mass transportation system, of course, electricity. If you can't invest in that, create the enablement that will bring private capital to invest in those sectors. So that is extremely, extremely important. We engage them on policies, taxation policies, business registration policies, so many things that we need to fix. But the good thing is things are changing, they are listening, but we too, the private sector, we're making sure we invest. Some of us, we invest and engage them to say, do the right thing, so that global private capital will find its way to the respective economies. And you know, a lot has been done. I've helped to create a National Competitiveness Council with the Tony Elumelu Foundation to support all of the awareness on the continent. So we can't succeed if we don't fix some of these soft issues. Thank you.
I love it. Okay. Ernest.
Hey, I'm Ernest Kabuye. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. I'm with Seven Capital. We're based out of East Africa and Washington, D.C. as well. We're an investment firm. My question is about talent being evenly distributed, but the opportunity to explore that talent is not. When you set up the foundation, what type of obstacles are you looking to surpass? And I can give a very good example. Yesterday, I met your CEO, and she had a very good outfit on, and I wanted to find out who her tailor was. and then
was that the only thing you admired about her yesterday?
Yeah. But then I realized for me to travel from East Africa to West Africa, I would need to go through so many different channels. There's nothing direct. So in that particular realm of obstacles where you're trying to get access to an opportunity, what do you have to say to that in terms of breaking down those types of barriers, and what types of partnerships would that entail?
You know, I do business in 24 African countries. I have investment in 24 African countries. It's challenging. Transportation is challenging. Movement of goods and people, difficult. But as I said, as I always say, the glass is half full. We see challenges, we will see opportunities. So the ability of businesses to navigate seemingly difficult institutional rigidities can become on its own a compelling sustainable advantage, a competitive advantage of others. We are trying. I say to the African Union, that is the, African, I say, in the 21st century, African Union was formed for political independence. But in the 21st century, we should change African Union to focus more on economic growth and progress. There are so many things the way we are wired prior to this time. I said in my speech that I'm not interested in what led to where we found ourselves in, but more about the future. In the 21st century, we should not blame anyone but ourselves for what's happened to us. So the talent issue, transportation, free movement of goods, movement of people, very critical for economic progress, integration, etc. And I hope that the AFCTA will begin to address some of these issues ultimately. In our own little way, talking about like small entrepreneurs, etc., how do we assist? We created a digital platform called the TF Connect. It's like it's biggest digital ecosystem for entrepreneurs in Africa. We have as we said, over 2.5 million people have been trained on that platform. So it's also an opportunity, a marketplace for them, virtual marketplace for them to display what they do, etc., interact with one another, and be able to spread the opportunities that they generate and showcase themselves. We have every year, and I'm going to invite you guys, hope we have your address, to every year we try to create the TF Forum. It's a fiscal forum in Abuja where we invite some of these young entrepreneurs that were funded. They come there, and we invite different investors also to come and pitch and see who they want to invest in further. Because the $5,000 we give is not what they need, but it's not what will help them take them to the next level. But what we do is let's give them that little stipend to prove their concept, to prove their idea, so that others can come and invest in it. So when we create such platform, people also get to showcase themselves, what they do, etc. It's a combination therapy. There's so much to do, but it is true that in some parts of the continent, you have a lot of some talent and opportunity and resources, but others you don't have. And that is why what we do at the Tony Elumelu Foundation is Africa-wide, not just in one geography, because, as I said, poverty anywhere is a threat to all of us everywhere. So I hope that all of us on the continent and friends of Africa can team up and begin to create the infrastructure that we need to open up Africa. 1.5 billion people, and age, the demography is a huge advantage, but we're not taking advantage of it because the economies are not integrated yet. But we're pushing advocacy, etc., and through our own private sector investment effort to show that these things can be done, and they are things that we must do to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
One more question. Oh.
Hi, my name is Megan Hastings. I work with Adesso Africa, and we talk about philanthropy being society's risk capital. And I'm curious your thoughts as we look at shifts in global aid right now, especially with USAID. How do you see philanthropy leaning in to both fill the gap, but also establish a new framework moving forward, possibly one that is more in partnership with African governments and African philanthropists?
So, sorry, I missed part of it. I heard about USAID. What was the end? What was the real question?
So how best to leverage private philanthropy to support development in this massive shift away from USAID heavy investments?
I think I thought you wanted him to comment on USAID. I plead the Fifth Amendment, but really, I think there's a whole lot. That's why I'm happy to be in this gathering. Actually, you even have more private capital than even what can come from government. What's important is for us as a private sector, whether in Africa, in America, any Asia, to come together and know that there's a role for us to play, and not just looking up to government to do everything. So there's so much private capital can do. What we do at the Tony Elumelu Foundation is from our family's resources that we say, okay, let us do it. Because it's, to me, it's existential. It's self-enlightened interest to make sure you create prosperity, not just for yourself and your family, but for as much as possible, almost everyone, which is why we believe in democratizing luck. So there's so much we can do. But what I also know is that at times you have people who have good intentions, private capital, who want to do good, but they don't have the platform. They don't have the platform, or they don't know who to go to, how to get it done. For us in Africa, the Tony Elumelu Foundation, we have our foot on the ground. We've tested, that's why we are in partnership with the UNDP, the EU, and co, to see EU. They are concerned, they want to play their own, because there's so much issue of migration or immigration from the continent, creating problems elsewhere. And EU, we in partners, okay, we can help. Why do people want to go through the Mediterranean in very harsh, difficult conditions to survive, to escape? Because they believe that when they get there, if they manage to get there, there's economic hope, opportunity for them. Can we create that at home so they don't do that again? And that's what the experiment we have with the EU, on the continent. So there's a lot we can do as private sector, and I hope that through this gathering today, we'll be able to elicit some more interest, interest in supporting people on the continent who are eager to leave poverty cycle. Thank you.
One final question, if it's a quick one. Lisbeth.
Hi, I'm Lisbeth Stier. I'm the other fangirl in the room here. I've seen Tony and the Elumelu Foundation over the years. I work in global education, and you have been an absolute hero. To recognize this in the room, but it's been difficult. And my question is, given the rapid explosion of young people in Africa, where are the quick wins? Because many of the things that need to change will take time. Where do you see opportunities for tipping points? We heard about AI this morning. Where does technology come in? You mentioned your platform. We need to train a lot of people, and fast.
Yep.
So I'd love to hear if are there particular areas where you see we could make breakthroughs quickly?
I think I would like to first, Elizabeth, well done, and thanks for what you and your platform and your family, what you're doing in helping to educate people, and thank you very much. We need a lot of that on the continent. Education, healthcare, those are very critical requirements on the continent. But our approach at the Tony Elumelu Foundation, well, we've looked at all of this. In fact, when we started, Alex will recall, Professor Michael Porter, we brought Professor Michael Porter to Nigeria, and we had a significant brainstorming session. And it was how do we intervene? These are the issues, the challenges, etc. on the continent. And it was a tough conversation because Michael Porter wanted us to just identify a few, just few entrepreneurs, support them, and when they get up, they put others up. But some of us know that let's give people because in that part of the world, here, if you have ideas, there are so many things. You can, from your garage, you hear all these successful people, what they did starting with their garage. But then in Africa, it's difficult to even have little, tiniest resource of capital to start. So we said, let's give the opportunity to people to prove their ideas, and then others will invest in them. So what we did and what we do, my response to your question is, we decided that our intervention will be sector agnostic, because you don't know the sector that would make it. So let us identify people and give them what they need. Little capital. So it can be fashion, it can be AI, it can be the payment system, it can be sanitation, it can be green economy. So what do I think is the next thing for the continent? I will give answer from my perspective that let's keep collaborating to invest in people's ideas. whatever your idea is, let's support you. You have the opportunity to prove your idea. And in the future, there are some investment that it's only when you look back, you say it was the right thing. We can just sit down here and just guess and say it must be only AI or this. But on the continent, where people are today is almost like ground zero. So I think that a combination approach will be my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, very much for your time. Everyone, we're out of time. And so if you want to go and chat with anyone from Tony's group, I'm going to highlight Samachi here. Talk to Samachi. She's wearing the beautiful red jacket that Ernest is not able to get. And so thank you so much.